The Proclamation of London by Francis Parker Yockey. Section 1. The Historical Foundations of the Liberation Front. Number 2. The Age of Materialism. During the centuries of its growth and unfolding, the Western culture increased in power and maturity. The inner aspects of life steadily receded before the external aspects, until the end of the 18th century. The West stood before its deepest crisis up to that time. Since the issue was great, fundamental, and intense, it immediately became a matter of life and death. That is to say, political. The great crisis took political shape in the French Revolution. As ever, when an idea rises to political intensity, it absorbs everything else within it, and focuses all human attention and effort onto the power struggle. The revolution, however, was not French alone, but European. This total revolution marked the victory of democracy over aristocracy, parliamentarism over the state, mass over quality, reason over faith, equality ideals over organic hierarchy, of money over blood, of liberalism, pluralism, free capitalism, and criticism over the organic forces of tradition, state, and authority. In one word, of civilization over culture. Rationalism and materialism were the common denominators of all the new ideas which rose in revolt against the old order of thought, state, economy, society, war, and politics. Metaphysics was to be a matter of weighing and measuring. Government was to be a matter of counting noses. Economy was to be entirely reduced to money branding. The structure of society was to be a reflex of money. International relations of war and politics were to be the apotheosis of national egoism, with utter disregard of the great, inclusive cultural unity of which the nations are mere separate manifestations. Even today, after more than a century of undermining, the traditional connections of the culture-bearing stratum of Europe are unimpaired, and reach straight back to the self-evident pride and mastery of our Gothic youth. And this connection is not weaker, but stronger with time, for the direction of our spiritual development has changed, and a second great world transformation has occurred in the life of the West. We are now in the midst of the second great turning point of the maturity of culture. The noise and the shouting of democracy and materialism have died away. Liberalism has become a foul tyranny, masking an evil and anonymous dictature of money. The parliaments talk now only of themselves, and it no longer matters what they say. The critics have dissolved themselves in their own acid, and cannot believe now in either their methods or their results. Rapacious capitalism has eaten up its own foundations. Finance has converted the nations into huge spider webs of debt, via which all Western mankind is trapped. Above all, fanatical chauvinism has destroyed all the former fatherlands and delivered them to the occupation of extra-European forces of barbarism and culture distortion. All of this is the legacy of the age of materialism. The servants of that age continue to apply its outmoded and sterile methods to the living tasks of the present. But even as their dead and rigid hands grip the reins of power, the revolt continues. They cannot build a wall against destiny. They cannot order history and time to stop in their tracks. The assertion of liberal capitalistic democratic parliamentarism that it has a timeless and eternal right to rule is an organic lie. The methods of the materialistic age, its antiquated ideologies and cadaverous sterility cannot even survive except as an instrument of extra-European forces unfeeling to the inner force of European destiny. Even as the cadaver of materialism tries to divert the lifeblood of the new and vital forces into its hardened arteries, it sinks deeper into the clammy rigidity of death. Against this corpse rises now the upthrust of the resurgence of authority, the highest embodiment of the old, eternally young and manly virtues of discipline, responsibility, duty, loyalty, and faith. In the face of the chaos of individualistic liberal capitalism, it flings its demand for a superpersonal ethical socialistic order. Over the equality ideals of democracy and the chaos of national and international pluralism rises now the imperative of hierarchy and imperium. Displacing suicidal petty statism is the idea of the monolithic culture-state-nation-race people of Europe as the prelude to the greatest task of all, the expression of the absolute Western will to unlimited political imperialism. The ultimate outcome of this gigantic struggle is known to us, for we have seen before the struggle of the past to retard the future. From 1800 to 1850, the reactionary adherents of the negative alliance against democracy allied themselves with the ideas and methods of the past in order to prevent the future. But it was the Democrats of that time who represented the true idea of the times, and history does not go backward. The Holy Alliance had to fail, regardless of the material power at its disposal, for armies and cannon cannot fight against an idea. Within a mere century, the Democrats, equalitarians, liberals, critics, ideologues, and parliamentarians have become the most radical opponents of the spirit of the age, for this age is no longer that of money, democracy, and equality, but that of authority, discipline, and faith. No more than the liberal Democrats could be permanently suppressed in 1850 can they suppress us in 1950. Even as the liberal democratic tyrants bring their economic pressure, they have a bad conscience. They show it further in their vacillation between senseless cruelty and clumsy bribery, in their childish propaganda and their vain cajolery. But to the bearers of a super-personal mission, no yielding is possible, either to terror or to compromise, for this mission emanates directly from the ultimate reality of God. To the materialistic liberal communist democrats, the inner enemy of Europe, we present only one unalterable demand: they must vanish from the face of history. Against this inner enemy and the spirit he embodies, we now document our charges before all Europe. In three realms, materialistic, communistic, liberal democracy has injured the body and thwarted the destiny of Europe. 1. Within the European nations. 2. In the relations among the nations of Europe. And 3. In the relations of Europe to the rest of the world.